Under the governance of the Chinese government, various aspects of people's lives, including marriage, funeral arrangements, and even dining customs, are subject to government interference. On November 29th, a netizen from Xichang City, Liangshan Prefecture, Sichuan Province, posted a video revealing that local government-appointed grid workers, identifiable by their vests, were frequently intruding into homes and disturbing residents. Previously, the local area had issued a quote punishment standard, which stipulates a fine of 20 yuan for squatting while eating and 10 yuan for not washing dishes and utensils. Look, they're here again. Squatting while eating is our custom. Isn't how we eat a matter of personal freedom? Why is eating while squatting considered uncivilized? Should you even control the posture we eat? What defines civilization? True civilization is respecting others' habits. If squatting while eating is uncivilized, does civilization mean we should eat off golden plates and at golden tables? We are open to change, but not to being ridiculed for our customs. Do you think all 56 ethnic groups in our country should eat at the same table to be considered civilized? Look, here they come again, day after day. This incident sparked controversy on Chinese social media, with many netizens arguing that public officials are, quote, overreaching, lack legal basis, and questioning, quote, can't people squat while eating now? This is absurd. And, quote, this is typical of having nothing better to do. In China, grid workers are either employees or temporary hires within communities, generally responsible for patrolling designated, quote, grid areas in communities or rural regions, gathering information and enforcing policies. Amidst the real estate crisis leading to high government debt and salary cuts for many public officials, there has been a significant recruitment of grid workers. On September 26th, the Chongqing Bishan District Government website published a recruitment notice for full-time grid workers with a college degree, aged between 18 and 45, offering a monthly salary of 2,400 yuan plus social insurance benefits. Similar recruitment drives were noted in about 10 districts of Jinan City, Xianmen's Jimei district, and by a human resources company in Shenzhen. On December 8th, Ms. Lu, a Shandong resident familiar with police station operations, told Radio Free Asia in an interview that compared to internal government officials, grid workers have a more critical role in maintaining grassroots social security. She mentioned that despite financial constraints and salary cuts for many government officials, the recruitment of grid workers continues unabated. Their role involves information gathering, enhancing communication with residents through meetings and visits, and reporting their findings. Lu further explained that grid workers are responsible for regular patrols, ensuring community safety and order, and promptly reporting any violations to relevant departments and police. As of 2022, the number of civil servants in China is officially reported as 7.1 million. Including public institution staff, party and mass organization personnel, women's federations, and trade unions, the total rises to 13 million. The number of staff in public institutions is about 31 million, bringing the total number of government-supported personnel to 44 million. Including retirees and pensioners, the total number of people financially supported by the Chinese government exceeds 80 million. However, it is important to note that the accuracy of these figures is often questioned due to the Chinese government's history of data manipulation. This makes it challenging for external sources to obtain precise figures on the actual number of people, quote, living off the imperial grain in China. In China, the fiscal support personnel are categorized into 4 groups: civil servants, staff in public institutions, non-regular staff, and grassroots workers like grid workers. The number of civil servants is high because, effectively, Chinese taxpayers support free government systems. The government system itself, which is considered to have irrational organizational structures and staffing. The party system, which directly extracts resources from the public treasury, and the system of public institutions such as industry associations. Additionally, some organizations that should be non-governmental, like the Red Cross, are also government-funded. Chinese civil servants, often seen as a high-income group, enjoy various benefits like housing subsidies, welfare housing, hidden welfare housing, public medical treatment, sick leave, maternity leave, annual leave, etc. The quote, free public consumptions of the Chinese Communist Party, including public-funded travel, official vehicle use, and public dining, are significantly high and lack transparency. However, the public's tolerance is strained by these high-salaried officials who are seen as neglecting their duties, arrogant, corrupt, inactive in emergencies, and abusing their power for personal gain, extravagance, and tyranny over the people. They are subservient to their superiors but act domineering towards the public. In an interview with Radio Free Asia on December 8th, current affairs commentator Mr. Liu raised concerns about the efficiency and responsibility of Chinese civil servants, noting that they consume 40% of the fiscal tax revenues. He questioned whether these officials are truly diligent and responsible in their roles. Citing his own experience, Mr. Liu mentioned the police team where out of 10 officers, only 2 were actively working. Mr. Liu, another commentator, pointed out that China's fiscal support has expanded to include positions at the village level, such as village heads and party secretaries. He attributed this to the centralized system's reach extending to the most grassroots level of rural and residential communities. The salaries of these officials are funded by the public's tax money. Mr. Liu expressed concern that as China's economic environment worsens, the increasing number of people living off the quote imperial grain exacerbates tensions between officials and the public, potentially leading to mass incidents. The discussion about 80 million public servants consuming 40% of fiscal revenue has sparked widespread online debate. An article published by, quote, Renwu Yuji, affiliated with, quote, Dianrui Media, on November 28th, highlighted that about 80 million people in China, nearly 5% of the national population, are financially supported by the government. This group includes civil servants, public institution employees, and state-owned enterprise workers. Their compensation and retirement costs, comprising 40% of national fiscal expenditure, significantly strain the government's budget for other areas like education and healthcare. The disparity between the incomes and retirement benefits of these government-supported employees and the majority of workers is stark. For instance, in 2023, the average monthly wage in China was about 5,000 yuan, while many government-supported retirees receive pensions over 10,000 yuan, double the average worker's income. A Zhehu user, quote, Gezi Chuanshuo, questioned the necessity of such a large number of public servants and temporary workers, particularly highlighting the high number of civil servants in small county towns and questioning the efficiency and necessity of such staffing. Gezi Chuanshuo expressed concern about the large number of civil servants in small county towns, numbering in the thousands. This significant expense raises questions about the necessity and efficiency of such staffing, especially when temporary workers are also hired. This situation is puzzling given the already high number of civil servants and staff members. In China, government spending can be characterized as extravagant and wasteful, particularly evident in the construction of government buildings. These structures are often the most impressive and well built in their respective areas. This phenomenon is not limited to affluent cities. Even in some impoverished counties, government buildings have been constructed at the cost of tens of millions of yuan. This kind of lavish expenditure on government infrastructure, which is often at odds with the financial situation of the surrounding area, particularly in less affluent towns or counties, highlights a stark contrast between government spending and public needs. Quote, I am currently in Shengzhe town, Wujiang, Jiangsu, known as the, quote, silk capital of the world. This town is about 45 kilometers from the center of Suzhou city. I reached Wujiang by taking the Line 4 subway and then switched to a bus to get here. The tall building in front of us is the administrative center and office building of the Shengzhe town government. As you can see, it's quite majestic. This Shengzhe town government building, with an investment of 250 million yuan, is located at the core of the town. It covers an area of about 48,000 square meters with a total construction area of almost 65,000 square meters and an overall investment of about 250 million yuan. The main building of the administrative office stands at approximately 95 meters tall, making it a prominent landmark in the new district of Shengzi. In some townships, with a population of just a few thousand, there are hundreds of civil servants. Numerous cars are parked in rows under these government buildings. Some local governments have more than a dozen secretaries general, each provided with a house and a car. These phenomena are not only objectively present but also exceedingly common. With a high number of deputy positions, secretaries general, and officials receiving salaries without working, the media frequently uncovers such cases, which strongly reinforces the impression of, quote, too many officials being a problem. According to reports by mainland Chinese media, National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, CPPCC member and vice chairman of the Shaanxi Provincial Committee of the CPPCC, Li Dongyu, stated at the 2021 two sessions of the Chinese government that in a certain county in Shaanxi, the ratio of government-supported personnel to residents was 1:5. In her report, Li Dongyu cited the example of a Shaanxi county with a permanent population of over 30,000 in 2019, a local fiscal income of 36.6 million yuan, and general public budget expenditure of 865 million yuan. The county has over 120 administrative, business, and social organizations, with more than 6,000 government-supported personnel, resulting in a ratio of 1 government-supported individual for every 5 residents. However, Li's statement might not be entirely accurate, as it doesn't include temporary workers and internet commentators employed by various units, potentially altering this ratio. To sustain this extensive cadre of public servants, Chinese citizens bear the burden of high taxes throughout their lives. Indirect taxes, including tariffs, consumption tax, and value-added tax, significantly exceed personal income tax in government revenue. Yet, a large proportion of these tax funds is allocated to stability maintenance expenses used to suppress public dissent. As China's economy continues to experience a downturn, the financial burden on ordinary citizens has been increasing, while government institutions continue their extravagant spending. This situation has led to public questioning and dissatisfaction regarding high-cost government procurements. For instance, in April, the Urban Management Bureau of Binhu District in Wuxi, Jiangsu, spent over 210,000 yuan on 47 sets of work uniforms, averaging around 4,600 yuan per set. This expenditure sparked widespread attention and controversy. Many comments criticized the expensive uniforms as a misuse of public funds, hinting at potential vested interests. Quote, if 47 sets cost 200,000 yuan, imagine how much is spent on uniform procurement nationwide. It's too extravagant, especially when our security guards' uniforms don't even exceed 300 yuan, one comment read, highlighting the disparity between social strata. Scholars have pointed out that government expenditure includes both budgeted and off-budget spending. The exact amount of administrative expenditure by the Chinese government each year is unknown and is considered a, quote, state secret. On January 13th, the, quote, Yingtan Social Security public account released a message stating that pensions for January 2023 under the city's basic old age insurance scheme had been disbursed. The distribution included 17.8 million yuan for over 75,000 retired enterprise employees, 6.9 million yuan for 13,600 retired government employees, and 28.5 million yuan for almost 138,000 retired urban and rural residents. Based on the figures provided, the average pension for government employees in Yingtan City is just over 5,000 yuan per month, while the average for retired enterprise employees is approximately 2,400 yuan per month. For urban and rural residents under the basic old age insurance, it's 207 yuan per month. And for farmers, the basic pension is as low as about 123 yuan per month. 2 days after this information was published, the article was deleted from the public account and screenshots shared by Chinese netizens were removed. American economist David Jun Huang commented that based on the data released by the Yingtan Social Security Center, the average monthly pension for retired government employees in Yingtan is 5,080 yuan. In comparison, the government announced disposable income for residents in 2022 was only 2,510 yuan. Huang noted that if the income of government and public institution employees is excluded, the average monthly income of urban residents in Yingtan would be about 2,000 yuan. Quote, "This shows that the pension of government employees is 2.5 times higher than the disposable income of urban residents, which is a significant disparity," he said. Huang believes that the main reason this issue provokes public resentment is that many officials are promoted through various schemes rather than genuine ability, and their salaries do not match their work capacity or societal contributions. From the perspective of the ordinary people, these officials seem like a ruling class exploiting the populace. Chinese political scientist Wang He, currently in the United States, observed, quote, "This is a manifestation of the Chinese government system ensuring the interests of its officials." Especially under the current impact of the pandemic, with Chinese society being very unstable and the economic income of the people being very poor, the difference in retirement benefits between officials and ordinary people is becoming increasingly evident. Many people are struggling to survive, reflecting the stark reality of contemporary China, where luxury and excess exist alongside extreme poverty. Wang He added that the Chinese government ensures the interests of its officials to stabilize its regime. Quote, "The Chinese government is aware that its ascent to power was inglorious and lacks legitimacy. To maintain its system, it nurtures a group of people, ensuring their interests so that they remain loyal. However, if the Chinese government runs out of money and stops payouts, everyone will turn against it. In fact, even those within the system criticize it." Singapore's former Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew had a deep understanding of the Chinese government's ruling model. He is quoted as saying that the problem with the Chinese government isn't just one emperor, but thousands of them. In the absence of the Township Authorities Committee Secretary, the Village Party Secretary becomes the emperor. This hierarchical emperor system, where every official wields considerable power, is characteristic of the Chinese government's way of control.